In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to add a console to your LibGDX app. I use this a lot in my own games to test out new features or to allow me to advance somewhere to the game where I want to test something. So let me just show you this in action. So I've just got a standard LibGDX project, and I'm going to hit the tab key. I'll show you a bit more about the key instructions in the tutorial. This brings up a console, and I'm just going to type in test here. And then down here, we get a message into the Android Studio debugger. Hi, I'm your friendly console. And then I've also put in a hide function so that we can remove it. So let me show you how we did that. So the first thing you need to do to add the console to your app is you need to update your build cradle. And this is the main build cradle, so not the one in desktop or core. This is just a desktop project. So in here, you need to add under project core dependencies this line here with the latest version, and 1.0.0 is the latest version. And you can check if there's, since I'm making this video, if there's a more recent version. If we just go to GitHub, you'll be able to get the latest version from here. Now there is something you need from this GitHub to be able to display the console, and that's, let me show you how you get those. And it's basically the files you need to for the console display. So you go to code, and I downloaded the zip. From the zip file, you need to copy from the src this default skin folder, and copy the contents, which is basically 5 files, into your asset folder of your project. So I renamed it to console skin. Oops, and there's the 5 files copied in. Okay, so that's got everything ready, set up to be able to use or code the console. So let's have a look at the code behind this. So as I said, I just got a normal desktop project with the desktop launcher. No code has been changed here. And then in the core, we have 3 classes. So one is the main normal class, extended from application adapter. And basically, I've added to the code that is already in there when you launch a standard LibGDX project. So I'll just go through what's been added here. So we have 2 classes that I set up or instantiate. One is called what I call console commands. I'll show that to you in a minute. And another one that I've called user input. You can probably guess what that is, and I'll show you what I've got in there in a minute. So we instantiate those 2 classes. I then create a multiplexer. So one is, this allows the 2 classes to pick up input from the keyboard. So I add the console commands, get console input processor first, then user input, which actually extends or implements the input processor. And that's it. And then in our render method, the only item I've added is this console commands.draw, which comes from this class here. So let's go into, we'll go into the user input class first. That's the easiest to understand. So basically, the only thing that does is I implement the input processor. So it's basically get feedback from the keyboard and mouse. And we have the normal override methods you have to implement. And I've just added in the key down, key code or react to the input key tab, and what that does is make our console visible. And I actually use this this user input class a lot to in my projects to separate out all my keyboard or mouse input into one self-contained class. So in the console commands class, we basically extend command executor, which if we hover over it, you'll see that is actually the Cradle line that we added. So it gives us reference to the jar file that Cradle has added. I set up a static GUI console. Then in the public method console commands, we load the skin in from our asset folder. We initiate the GUI console with the skin, and then I had an optional field here for the multiplexer. I set this to false because it allows me to control how the console's built up. If you don't do that, then it will do it itself by adding it to a multiplexer and launches it on an apostrophe. But I like to keep control of how and when it pops up and be able to disable it when I actually publish the game. Then we set the command executor, so that's how we type in commands to this class, and the commands we will add to this class. Set its size, in this case I set it to 50/50, and enable a submit button, so you'll see a button on the GUI that says submit. Then I've got a static method to get the console, which we need in the other classes. I've got a draw method. If it's visible, draw it. And then these are our commands. And I've just got a couple in here. So there's the test one I showed you at the beginning, and then I've got one to hide it. So in summary, we have the main class where we basically instantiate the two other classes, add them to the multiplexer so we can get input. We have the draw method, which is called from here. And then in user input, we've got the get console commands, which allows us to set the console to visible and to select the text field. So let me just run it again as a refresher, and then we can see what's going on behind the scenes. So here we have our app. I'm going to press the tab key, which is here. And we're going to type in test, which is basically calling this method here. And it will type our message down here. And then I can type in hide to hide my console again. And that is calling here. So basically what you need to do is, to extend this further, is you would add a load of public methods in here. And like I said, in my games, I use it to test out new features. So maybe you've got to an end of a level and you want to test a victory or something. So I can basically set the game to immediately go to the end of that level and test out the victory. I hope this tutorial is useful to you. Please put any comments below and any questions you have, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you.